This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Welcome back to the program. Our guest in studio from YesWellness is Dr. Paul Zicler. And Dr. Zicler, just before the break, we were talking about motivation. You talked about boomers particularly, and our parents, the seniors, who are, well, we're certainly aware of the fact that there is a greater life expectancy for both men and women as time goes on. And we are, as you identified, more of us, certainly not all, but more of us are recognizing our ability to enjoy life a little longer than perhaps we would have anticipated originally, and we're making lifestyle adjustments to accommodate that. And one of the biggest adjustments we need to make is information. We need to educate ourselves on how to improve our lifestyle to our advantage. We are voracious consumers of the internet in Canada. And, well, not all internet sites are equally credible. So can you help us out a little bit as we cast around looking for good places to go to get good, reliable information to educate ourselves and improve our lifestyle?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because if any our audience has been interested in in their diet and nutrition, they'll know that there are exceedingly numerous books on how to manage your wellness, and that is oftentimes very complicated for patients to, well, I'm going to read this, and then this other guy says this, and this other guy says that.
Especially when it comes to diets, with respect to information from one doctor recommends this approach, and then no, you should try the low sodium diet or the South Beach diet. I mean, my gosh, you go through half a dozen different books, you could die of starvation in the process. So how do we sort it all out? Who's right and who's wrong?
Well, that's that's a really good question, and oftentimes the average person won't be able to do that.
Okay.
And they would have to go somewhere like an integrative medicine clinic where they do have all that information and put it into a package that they could live with. But I'm going to give you just a few things to get people started.
Great.
The first thing is in terms of activity. So if we make a plan every day to walk at least 30 minutes every day. That's all. That's all I want you to do. Walk 30 minutes and do it outside. Don't do it in the gym and a treadmill.
Right, okay.
Come rain or shine. And to do it with your friends.
So it's about fresh air and exercise.
Exactly.
Okay.
And play and have fun.
And no expensive equipment required.
And no expensive equipment, and you're having fun. Even if it's raining, you got a good raincoat, you got an umbrella, go out and do 30 minutes a day.
It's BC. It happens a lot.
And then when you look at in terms of your diet, if you could cut out all the sugars in your diet, and that sounds like, oh my God, that's a big thing. If you could cut out all the high fructose corn syrup in your diet every day, that's all I want you to do today. Go to your cupboard, everything that's got high fructose corn syrup in it, throw it out.
Okay.
And you'll be amazed in your cupboard how many items have fructose in it. And fructose is a simple sugar. The problem with fructose is that it is metabolized in your liver. It goes directly into fat cells.
Oh, okay.
And so it goes right to fat. So you don't even have the benefit of being used somewhere else. It goes right to fat. And so
what about this myth, perhaps, of sugar energy? You take a blast of sugar and you're supposed to, like kids, right?
Yeah.
You always feel sorry for teachers the morning after they get Easter eggs and that kind of thing. They'll be so full of sugar they won't be able to see straight.
Well, no, there is a high octane sugar. That's what sugar is. It's high octane, and certainly it does that. But for us, on a daily basis, they're not a good thing, especially fructose. And
you find that in ketchup, in all sorts of surprisingly.
It's amazing what it is, and it goes back to my next thing about diet is not to have processed foods and fast foods. No processed foods and fast foods. The processed foods, they're all made with sugar and lots of salt,
right?
And not good salt, with a lot of sodium in it. And that's not a good thing. So if you could just stop eating processed foods and fast foods. Cook your food at home from fresh vegetables that you hopefully could buy from your farmer if you're living in South Surrey, Langley.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason that you have to go to Save-On to get the stuff from California.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get the stuff from your local farmer, who's more likely to have foods that are grown in a soil that still has nutrients in it.
Right.
People forget, oh yeah, I'm going to buy those beautiful looking strawberries from California that are huge and are there all year round,
Right.
and eat them, and they have no nutrients in them because they're being manufactured in the soil with artificially fertilized soil, and all the micronutrients in that soil have all long gone.
Ah, okay.
Or I'm going to have this beautiful, juicy, shiny apple, delicious apple from the apple factory that is twice the size as normal, 3 times as sweet, and with half the amount of nutrients that our apples had 10 years ago, because that's the way they're being processed.
Okay.
And so if we can get back to sort of the essentially wonderfully grown local farmers' produce, eggs, beef, you're going to be much, much healthier. And you're going to not depend so much on having to go and look at a lot of nutraceuticals and supplements.
Right. I wanted to ask you specifically about blueberries, which we grow in huge numbers in British Columbia. We're early this year with blueberries.
Yes.
And that's great, which means there'll be lots and lots of them,
Yep.
which will mean that they're even more affordable. And I understand it. Tell me about blueberries. I hear they're fantastically good for you.
Well, all berries are really good for you. Blueberries are exceptionally good, and we do have a local abundance of it. So
Yeah.
when they're in season, you should be eating a lot of them. But you'd want to try to get organic ones, because blueberries, most of the farms that you see are similar to that farm I've told you about in California, where you see acres and acres and acres of these beautiful fields growing these beautiful big strawberries.
Right.
Similarly here, we're going to get these beautiful big blueberries, but they're being fertilized and they're being sprayed upon, and etc. And they're being some of them are sort of modified to become more resistant to pesticides that we use for the normal weeds.
Okay.
You want to get organic ones if you can.
You mentioned meat. So, okay, meat's not a bad thing then.
Meat is not a bad thing, and we've been bamboozled in terms of meat. I mean, if you make the conscious decision to be a vegetarian, there's nothing wrong with that.
Of course.
You have to work harder to provide all the protein in the right way to make up for the things that are much easier if you're a meat eater.
Right.
And certainly it's much more difficult, and you may have to rely more upon taking other proteins and supplements.
Okay.
Whereas if you include meat, there are a lot of benefits to having meat, but it should be good meat. So grass-fed, pasture-fed, cattle, pork,
Mm-hmm.
and same for chickens and turkeys, and anything that's organically fed are going to be much healthier for you.
Okay.
And when I said back at the beginning, one of the things we want to reduce is exposure to toxins, and a lot of those toxins, we've never paid attention to. I mean, even 10 years ago, I heard all this stuff about environmental chemical toxins that were exposed. I thought, that's a bunch of hokey pokey.
Right.
In fact, that's not hokey pokey. When you add all the sort of fertilizers and pesticides and chemicals that we're being exposed to through our plastics, through our products, our preservatives, the skin products, all the chemicals we're putting on ourselves and in our hair and shampoo and deodorants. And if you sort of look at the whole picture, you're being exposed to those chemical environment toxins more than ever before. And
Right.
we never think about them. But accumulatively, it's a big deal.
And so that can eventually sort of wear your metabolism down if you're not putting things into your body to help resist the wear down effect.
Well, yeah, and you don't have to deal with them. You
Right.
don't have to go on detoxifying protocols. You're you're getting good, healthy food. And, you're going back to producing your own meals, using your local produce and making your own meals. And that's where good diet planning comes in. And if you've got a good book that you feel comfortable with, and really like you can sort of, it's like your wife probably has one cookbook that she really
the Old
uses.
Faithful.
That's right.
Absolutely, yep.
Something speaks to her with that book.
Yeah, I use it myself.
And that's
it's
right.
that good.
That's right. And so similarly, you can get books on wellness, and that all contain dietary suggestions and how to go about being healthfully eating, and doing it in a way that's very easy, because I keep coming back to it's got to be simple and easy.
Right.
If it's complicated and difficult, we're not going to get there.
So the takeaway from this before we take the break is I've made some notes here. Fast foods, fructose, and sodium. So we're going to reduce fructose and sodium as much as possible. You suggest eliminating it completely. Well, we could wean ourselves off, could we not?
Absolutely.
And fast foods, well, we all know what they do. But, I don't know and processed foods, that are TV dinners, that kind of stuff,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Where you don't have control over what's in them.
Exactly. So, all right. So we're going to talk about supplements. And when we come back, there's been some very interesting stuff written about them lately, a couple of interesting studies. Our guest knows an awful lot about them. From Yes Wellness, our guest on Boomer Life today is Dr. Paul Zicler. And there's more still to come. Stay with us.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.